Hi, I am so excited for you to have reached Module 8, the fin de siècle, the end of the century, the end of the 19th century, and the beginning of the 20th century. This covers just about 20 years in which so much happens, so much is compressed into those 20 years. You've been watching change in art since, let's go way back. Oh, I moved some of them to the bottom. Hold on a second. Down here, I moved our earliest modules to the bottom to get them kind of out of the way. But think about the 17th century when you were introduced to Caravaggio and Rembrandt. And then when you were in France in the 17th to 18th century when you were dealing with Rococo. As art has been changing, it's been expanding, styles have become more challenging, as we saw with the avant-garde. But that whole process of change and of a pressure on the boundaries of what is acceptable, they become explosive in this period that we call the beginning of modernism, not just the modern. Let me explain what the modern is versus modern is. If you look up the definition of modern, here it is, adjective, relating to the present or recent times, as opposed to the remote past. But it can also mean noun. A modern is a person who advocates or practices a departure from traditional styles or values, a self-conscious embrace of the new and a rejection of the old. That idea of the pursuit of the new, of the throwing away of the old, is closest to what we call modernism, which is when you are self-consciously rejecting tradition, self-consciously striving to reinvent the world in your thought, your expression, your technique. And you're going to see that in the art. And I introduced you to that idea first in modernist architecture with the Eiffel Tower. And I want you to read very carefully the kind of horror, it's really amusing, with which the Eiffel Tower was greeted, because it didn't seem to be any kind of building that people understood or knew about. It seemed to be a kind of assault on expectations, an overturning of all conceptual orientation points. You'll see that also in painting and sculpture. You'll find numerous avant-gardes in this module, because what's happening is the pressure to invent a new world is accelerating experimentation and creating numerous radical movements, ever more radical, moving at a faster clip. And one will be one of the most famous, maybe notorious, will be Cubism, in which you'll see that the challenge is not just a new way of creating a painting, but actually a painting that is saying, what is a painting anyways? Is it even a picture? Certainly with Manet, you saw a painter creating a picture of subject matter that had never been seen before. Olympia, the woman at the Folies Bergère. But this is an artwork where you're not even sure what is being pictured and what the painting is doing anymore. So this is a module where you have to pay very close attention to each page, each video, each reading, because you are confronting different avant-gardes that are radical in different ways, and you need to get a clear feeling of what their agenda is, what it is that makes them modern, modernist, what it is they're trying to do, how they're trying to upend previous value systems. Among these radical movements, we will even talk about abstraction, the idea of an artwork that has actually divested itself of representing, where we get an artwork that is pure painting or pure form for itself. This will be a major idea and some of our radical break from what we've been tracking from the 17th century. One of the key ideas in these module pages, videos, textbook pages, is that all of these radical changes are fueled by and operating in conjunction with radical changes in social life, in human experience. This is the age of the beginning of the airplane, the automobile, of cinema. People experience space and time changing. It's the age of the beginning of quantum physics, of Einstein writing the theory of relativity. And all of these new technologies, new scientific understandings are creating a new sense of the human being in relationship to the world, including a cult of speed and destruction, because we are hurtling toward World War I, and futurism takes us to that threshold. So your discussion here is a discussion where you are asked to look at futurist art, but also to read the manifesto of futurism. Part of modernism is a will to make a new world. And artists who are willing this new world into being are often making a manifesto of what it is they're trying to bring to life through their art, through their new consciousness, to manifest, to bring into being. And this manifesto will help you confront the relationship between the art and the politics, which was deeply locked together at this time. Different artistic movements had different political views. You will see that the futurists are proto-fascists. That is not true of other movements, but this will be an important theme going forward, the relationship between radical art and radical politics. And that will give you the basis from which to do your thinking for this discussion board, where I ask you to find a futurist work that fascinates you. This is one that fascinates me. Giacomo Balla's Swift's Paths of Movement and Dynamic Sequences. He's literally trying to paint dynamism itself. Swifts, these rapid moving birds, the sense of energy and flux instead of something static, which is what most paintings have been.